Alright, what is up everybody? Welcome back to another tier list. It's a brand new Apex Legends season, and you guys know I gotta go through the entire Legends and do another tier list because a significant amount of stuff has actually changed. We got an entire new ranked format and a bunch of other new changes. So, gonna be breaking it down. You guys know the deal. Before I get into this, leave a like, subscribe, share the video. Keep in mind, I'm gonna start this out. This is pretty much a tier list for pretty much like your average player. It is going to be a consideration of taking into like pubs and ranked, like your average ranked as well, along with being major like solo player mainly. It's mainly a solo player tier list. As well, it's also 100% opinionated, so if I forget to talk about anything or if I forget to explain something or you guys don't agree with me, let me know your guys' own list in the comments down below. I don't want to make this video like 30 minutes like last time. There is a bunch of stuff that did change, but like at the same time, the only major thing that actually got added was Ballistic, which I also will be talking about. It's a brand new legend. Apart from that, let's get right into this. There's no F tier. Might as well just get that out of the way right now. There's no legend in the game that I think is legit 100% unplayable, which is a great thing, unlike a lot of other games. I'll start out with D tier. We got Revenant. Now, the problem with Revenant is he got no changes for Season 17. I'm not going to talk about him very much because he's going to be getting entirely reworked. It was also data mined that he's going to be getting like a different alt, and they're going to be entirely reworking his alt at some point in the next 1 or 2 seasons. So I'm not going to talk about him very much. He's not unplayable, but he's probably the worst legend in the entire game right now. Not going to talk about him very much. Next, you got C tier, which is kind of your stuff that's more niche or you just don't see played nearly enough, which is Mirage, Rampart, Crypto, and Newcastle. Mirage, the only major change he really got was him being actually switched from, I think it was an Assault Legend, or a Skirmisher Legend, I think it was, to a support. I think out of the support category, like all the worst support is probably either Mirage or Newcastle right now, unfortunately. Rampart barely ever played. Like, the problem with Rampart is you just don't see her played at all. And when you do see her played, it's really difficult to make her work. She can be good now that that rank has actually changed, where you have an ability to lock down an area if you can make it to late game. And she is a king at, like, locking down areas and like, playing late game circles, especially for ranked. But apart from that, nothing with her has really changed at all. And there's just way better options for that type of thing right now. Crypto, if you're solo queuing, is one of the worst legends in the entire game for solo queue. I don't know about you guys, but every time I have a Crypto on my team, especially in ranked, when I'm solo queuing, the Crypto does nothing the entire game but just sit in his drone. He is legit a legend that is probably better with an entire 2 or 3 stack, a duo, or even a 3 stack. If you're solo queuing and you're playing Crypto, or if you have a Crypto on your team in solo queue, they're usually worthless. And especially with the banner changes for support, anybody on a support team being able to graft banners, his drone becomes even less useful, being able to go and grab banners and respawn from your drone. I don't think he really needs a buff. I just think he's not that good as like a legend just for like solo queuing or in general right now when there's just a bunch of easier options to play. And then you got Newcastle. Wouldn't say he's really bad, but I just think he's just not played nearly enough. There's just way easier stuff to play. If you can build a team around him, he's incredibly good, but like if you're just solo queuing, unless you're crazy good with Newcastle, you gotta carry the game to actually do a lot. And if you're solo queuing, you're kind of just reliant on your team most of the time. You can be a good backbone to a team, but if you got a bunch of other losers on your team that just don't do anything, then you're kind of just there. That's the main problem with them. Then he just gets pretty dull a lot easier right now. Kind of just a sitting target and when he does not have an ult up. It's pretty much the same thing. Nothing with him's changed much. Next up, we got B tier, which is Gibraltar, Lifeline, and Watson. I'm not going to really talk about Gibraltar or Lifeline because nothing with them's really changed. Gibraltar, you don't really even see played that much anymore. If you do see him played, he's not bad, but he does have a lot of checks that are being played that are way better right now. The main one being Mad Maggie, and especially being able to sit up like late game. The main thing with like late game is there's just a lot better options in Gibraltar right now. His ult is great for like late game circles, but apart from that, you're just better off picking some other defensive legends. Lifeline, nothing with her's really changed. I'm not going to really even talk about her. She still is kind of a average to below average pick, depending on how you are as a player. And then Watson, the main thing with Watson is she's not really a bad legend, but she just lacks mobility. and there's a lot better defensive legends in the game right now, two of which being Caustic and Catalyst. There's just no reason to really pick her. That's the main problem. Not really bad, and still one of my favorite legends, but just kind of underwhelming right now. Up next, we got A tier: Ashe, Caustic, Fuse, Vantage, Valkyrie, and Ballistic. Let's talk about Ballistic first. I don't have like an actual picture of Ballistic to throw on this tier list because there's not a new updated tier list, which I apologize about, but I might throw a picture on screen or like some words or something, I don't know. But, or at least just talking about Ballistic, he would be an A tier. But I think overall, Ballistic, for a legend, I think he's just extremely average. And that's just for your like random like solo queue player. I think Ballistic is strictly a legend that is going to be way better with like a duo or like a dedicated trio. As a solo queue player, especially just having a lot of these Ballistics in the first couple days ranked on my team, they just don't do anything. I think the best thing about him is actually his tactical, and half the time it doesn't really do anything because if you just throw it out with locking it, not even locking it on somebody, it's just an AoE, and you have to have people walk into the AoE to actually do something. And by how difficult it is to actually lock on to somebody if they're not like close to medium range and behind no cover, it just gets really no value most of the time. But if you can land a tactical on somebody, it actually is really good. I think it does like 20 or 30 damage on the initial hit. And then if their weapon overloads, they also take damage. Like I think explosion damage or something, which I think is 20 or 30 damage. So it's a great tactical. It's just really difficult to use, and it's just one of those things where most of the time you're lucky to get value out of it because it's just so difficult to use. Unless you're fighting somebody in the open and you have enough time to lock onto them, or you can throw it in an AoE without locking onto somebody and they walk through it or get close to it. It just doesn't do anything. And then you got his sling weapon, which I think the main thing with Ballistic is his ult that can be good. I think some of the best things to run with Ballistic and for his ult are either a Rampage, a Devotion, a Havoc, or a Sentinel. The Sentinel and the Rampage both being that they get fully charged when you do ult. So you get a free Thermite Grenade and a free Shield Cell, and fully charge your Sentinel and your Rampage with an ult. Apart from that, most of the times, even with an ult, I don't even see myself using the third weapon most of the time, just because you have unlimited ammo for your first two weapons. It gives them more coverage to where you can actually run long, medium, and close range weapons like Vantage can most times, but at the same time, he doesn't really need that. At least most of the time, at least when I've been playing him. It's great to have, but at the same time, you don't really need it most times. I don't know. And if you don't use it with your team, you don't really get as much value. You can use it on yourself, but then you're pretty much wasting and your team doesn't get any value. You got to be close enough to your team so they can also get activated with the ult, and just kind of something you get value out of as a team, and not really like a solo type of ult ability, which is not really that greatest. I just think Ballistic's just really mid. You could argue he's even probably like B tier, but I think he's just average because his tactical is really good if you can actually land it, but I don't know. And then the sling weapon is also pretty solid if you can actually use your third weapon. You actually need a third weapon most of the time. If you can actually get value out of it, depending on what you run. I don't know. Kind of mid. I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm really disappointed with Ballistic because it's still really early and I haven't really played him a lot. Or at least as much as I wanted to before I made this list. But I don't know. I'll let you guys know if my opinion changes on Ballistic. But right now, I just don't think he's that crazy. I think he's just mid at best. You can even argue probably even B tier, but I don't know. Got Ashe and Caustic. These two, nothing with them's really changed. Ashe got a small little buff where she's able to walk faster while she's tethering her up her arc snare and about to throw it. Apart from that, nothing with these two legends have changed. Fuse is the same thing. Nothing with him's really changed at all. Always just a really solid overall around legend. Vantage still being incredibly good. There's some rumors that Vantage is going to be getting buffed halfway through the season. They're going to be giving her like shorter cooldowns on her ult. We'll see if that actually happens or not, but at least right now I think she's average. More team dependent as well because she does give a lot of info to your team, but I think the one thing that holds Vantage back is her movement ability is just pretty bad. Everything about her else is really good, but her movement ability is just really... It's really clunky, and it just doesn't feel really good to use a lot of the time, and half the time it fails when you need it in a fight. Then you got Valkyrie, which used to be one of the best legends in the game, and then they actually put in evac balloons as a survival item, which made her a lot worse. I think Valkyrie actually needs to be buffed. I really do. She still has the Skyward Dive, which still has a really good amount of height on it, but when you have at least one teammate on your team now that can actually just run an evac balloon and deploy a balloon half the time, and you can get away with running a different legend now over Valkyrie, then there's just really not as much reason to pick her. The only reason you're really picking her is for her passive at that point, and then having her ult still, apart from like an evac balloon. But even then, there's just a lot better picks. That's why I kind of think she's a little bit worse this season, just because of the new survival item, the evac balloon. Still really solid though, and she's still my favorite legend in the entire game. At least for me. Up next, we got A+ tier. These are legends that are above average and incredibly good right now. Catalyst, Horizon, Loba, Mad Maggie, and Octane. Catalyst, one of the best defensive legends in the entire game. She's been on the rise throughout the entire season of Season 16 as well. And if you know how to play her, you can even play her in solo queue and like with randoms, and you can still do really well. Even if you know how to like throw a Dark Veil through like an entire fight by yourself, you can pretty much split an entire team in half and fight one of them, or like split somebody off from their team and get a kill and then make it a 2v3. That's the thing she's really good at. Or like funneling people through doors and buildings with being able to reinforce the doors. Just incredibly good. The only thing she really lacks is mobility, but at the same time, you can kind of just either throw a wall and block line of sight most of the time, or you have a few other options where you can like block doors and buy yourself time that way. So as long as you know how to play her, she's incredibly good. I wouldn't say she's broken, but I think she's really, really good right now. If you guys want a defensive legend that's really fun to play, a really cool legend, and overall just really, really good right now, pick up Catalyst. Horizon, nothing with Horizon's really changed, but she's just still incredibly good. And with King's Canyon being added back to the move, or back into the map pool, she's always been great on King's Canyon, so I have to put her in A+ tier. Loba's even better than last patch. I don't think she's as good as some of the S tier stuff right now, but I think she's the best support in the entire game out of the support category. Especially with being able to have your entire team craft banners now, I think it makes your team a lot better having a support, and she's the best one. So you're going to probably be picking her over a lot of the other ones. Mad Maggie, nothing with her has changed. She's just an overall really consistent, really fun champion to play. A really fun legend to play. Nothing with her has really changed, though. They fixed a bug with her Wrecking Ball to where it was kind of exploding and bouncing off of random stuff in the environment, which makes her Wrecking Ball a little bit more consistent. But at least me personally, I haven't noticed any difference. I don't know about you guys, but not really. I think anything that would really make her a lot better, I don't think so. And then you got Octane. Easy to play. You got the stim, and then you got a jump pad, and that's pretty much what he has, and he has the passive health regen. Just pretty much a YOLO, like, full send legend that's always just easy to play and fun to play. You're going to be seeing him in the majority of your games. He has one of the highest pick rates in the entire game. I wouldn't say he's, like, one of the best legends in the entire game, but just based off of how much he's picked and how much he's played, I think he's there for a reason. That's why he's just overall really, really solid and easy to play. So the jump pad having such a low cooldown is really good mobility for your team to get your squad around the map. And then last but not least, we have the S tier. These are the best of the best legends in the entire game, most of which need nerfs or something of the sort. Bangalore, Bloodhound, Pathfinder, Seer, and Wraith. Now let's talk about the scan legends. With the changes to ranked, people are going to be trying to survive longer into the late game, at least trying to place top 10 before they take most of their fights. The scan legends by default are going to have a huge rise in usage and viability just based off of that alone. Being able to find rats and just be able to play based off of the scans and the knowledge of all the enemy teams around you. Seer and Bloodhound are like probably the two best legends in the entire game right now, especially for this season. Just based off of the rank changes alone. I do think Bloodhound is way too easy to use. I still think he needs to be nerfed again because he's really annoying to play against. And then Seer needs some major nerfs. They tried to nerf him for Season 16. He had a bit of a low play rate at the start of the season, but then everybody realized he was still just as broken as he was. And the nerfs didn't really do anything to him, and then he just went right back up in usage. So they need to nerf Seer into the ground. He's just an absolute, just like brain dead type of legend. He's just so annoying to play against. Does way too many things and just really effective at what he does. Bangalore is on the rise as well, just mainly because she just does everything really good, and her smokes are just incredible for either blocking line of sight or allowing you to take space and move up on a team for a fight. She has an ult that just, you can throw it out at pretty much any time. It disperses enemies that are trying to go onto you, or like gets people off of you, or just makes a distraction at the very least. Buys you time, like it pretty much just does anything. It does decent damage, and it's a huge AoE. Overall, is everything you really want out of the Legend right now is Bangalore. Easy to play, she has a really good passive, everything you need. Pathfinder with his zipline buffs is crazy. They also reworked it to where you can actually like look at the care packages now, and they actually ping on the map for your entire team, which makes Pathfinder a lot better. Especially if you're picking one of those legends that's able to look at the care packages. Still has a really huge hitbox, but just with how much mobility he has with the zip lines now, I think he's just that good. His grapple is also really good, depending on how you use it. And you got Wraith, which kind of the same thing as last season. Nothing with her's really changed. She got Giga buffed, and she's still incredibly good. Nothing with her's really changed. I'm not going to talk about her very much. Same thing, incredible survivability. Her ult being able to have the extra range that they buffed like last season is incredibly good. It's everything you really want out of a legend right now, especially for someone that's going to be going in and starting fights or fighting with you most of the time. Apart from that, that is the entire list, y'all. Keep in mind, I don't have a picture for Ballistic, but like I said, I would probably put him either A or like high tier B, something around there. But let me know what you guys think of Ballistic in the comments down below. Apart from that, hopefully you guys enjoy it. I will be doing probably a weapons list either later this week or depending when you guys are seeing this video this next week. I'm not sure yet. Depends how much time I have, but a lot of other stuff on the way as well. We got a new Paladins update actually this next week. It's actually confirmed for May 17th, so we actually got Paladins update this next week, which I thought wasn't going to be until June, but I guess they changed their mind. Whatever, but a bunch of other stuff. You guys like Apex stuff? I stream Apex, I stream Splatoon 3, Omega Strikers, Overwatch, Paladins, a bunch of other stuff. So if you guys like that type of stuff, subscribe. Stay up to date with the channel. Apart from that, I'm going to get out of here. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for stopping by.